Starting a little early to see if people can see me and to check and see if I can see comments. Okay. I'm seeing myself, and I just want to see some. Got 10 eyeballs now. Awesome. Okay, so we're moving in. Just want to see if my audio is working. So if anybody could send me a quick note saying everything's a good go. Well, there we go. I am starting to see people now. Okay. Hi, Debbie English and Liz Ivy May. Oh, sorry, Liz Emily, not Ivy May. Pat and Lori and Cindy. Alrighty. We're looking good for tonight. Thank you for hopping on with me. So we have changed our format for our created dates, and we are now going to be using your feedback from the survey that was sent out a couple of weeks, saying that you wanted to see demos and new tips and tricks and techniques. So we've decided that we are going to move into that area of things, and tonight is our first night doing that. So tonight I'm going to be working with a slimline die, and I'm going to show you a couple of options for you to be able to mix it up a little, so it isn't always the same slimline die on the same slimline card. So normally you use your long boards for your slimline dies because they really don't fit well on a shorter frame board. Ooh. Got a sticky problem here. Hang on. There we go. And I'll just open this up so you can see that they're too big for the small glass plate, and they work better on the large glass plate. So I just have a simple die here. There are many dies out there with different kinds of edges to them and different kinds of possibilities. This is the die that I had available to me, and I'm going to show you a couple of cards that I've pre-created just to give you a sense of what you can do with them, and then I'm going to show you how to actually cut two specific cards. Sorry, I'm just getting my dies off my sticky stuff here. Uh-oh, don't want the sticky stuff, just want the dies. Okay, so before we begin, I'm just going to go over a few of the things that I have created with this, and I'm using multiple dies with these as well. So here I just have used the actual shapes in this case, which were, let me put some black in the background there so you can see them better. Well, I guess you can see them. Okay. So we have these arched dies, and what I created with them was gift cards. I am going to show you how to do this a little differently so you don't end up with things tearing at the bottom like I did. But basically they're gift cards, and I used every single die and cut down into I'm losing my words, into strips that were 1/4 inch thick, and then I played around with them on two different cards. So simply, they're very simple little cards. This one is exactly the size of the die cut, which makes it a little tight to get your card in. So you have to make sure that when you're adhering these together, that you put very thin sequin tape or double-sided tape. And then I just popped a little thing that says better than a text on it. And that's one die card that I created. And then a second die card that I created. This one I adjusted for a little extra room on either side, and I'll show you how to do this one, because some of your dies will not be the size of a card, and and you'll want to extend it so that it will fit into a card feature, or just at least allow your gift card to go in easily. So I'll show you how to make that, and it says have a colorful day. And those sentiments are created with the stamps and dies that go with the simple strips. So I have the dies that are angled. This one is called asymmetrical, and then this I've used, in this case, have a colorful day. I think it was a crafting set of the simple strips. So those are very handy to have, very quick and easy to use. And then this card was a tone-on-tone. So basically I, again, cut the shapes out and use them. So the remaining shapes that I had for this, I put on a plain piece of cardstock. Use the same technique to enlarge the shape size by adding a little border on each side, and created a card, and just put some puffy, losing my words tonight, put some pop-up stickers on it, and another simple strips saying. This one was the pet sayings, and I used the tag shaped die for cutting that, and it's similar to this, only it has tag ends on both sides. And then you open that up, and it says from one dog mom to another, and I just created a quick little card, and this card is 4 inches by 4 inches. So if you want to get to 4 1/4 inches, you just make the sides a little bit wider. And this is a great card if you have double-sided printed paper, because you have the print on one side and the finish on the other. Now, to make this square edge, it's simply the rounded edge flipped. So I have a rounded edge here, flip, so the square edge is here, and then another arch showing the square edge at that edge. And maybe I can just show you that I used the big die to cut the top surface for that. And I'll show you how to create that so that you end up with a larger size cut. All right, these are going everywhere. Probably should have planned that differently, but that's okay. So this is another pop window card. So the card on the front has the flowers on it, and then I used these little, is this the smallest? No, I used the smallest die to make little windows. So we have that going there, and then you just simply pop open, and there's your sentiment underneath. It says, hello crafty friend, you are my people. And then on the inside of the card, sending you handmade hugs. And these are all, again, with the tag sided slim simple strips, crafty friends, and flag edges. So that's a cute little die, and that's a regular card. That's 5.5 by 4 1/4, and that'll fit really tight in your envelope. So I have an envelope here so you can see that it all fits in nicely. And you can do any size of flap. You can have one big flap, multiple small flaps. It's very easy for you to create those flaps. And it's the same technique that I'm using for flaps as I'm using for the arch and adding a bit of paper on the side so you can actually make a full card, or you can extend the side of your die so that you can have an easy fitting pocket. It's all exactly the same strategy, and I'll show you what that is. And then I created an easel card using a slim die. And what I did was I used the same technique on the slim die and created just a simple fold. It's got it's a W fold. You can see the W there if I turn it this way maybe. That creates my easel, and then I just cut a square top, and so it fits in there. And then on the front side I used my die to create a lattice work, and it's a really simple process. In fact, every lattice work you create, you get 2 lattice works out of it, so it's quite a great little project to do. Now this is more complicated and would take more time to do, but I can walk you through it very quickly. We won't be able to have time to do that tonight, but if you're interested, maybe we'll do a quick craft card demo on that at another time. And I used Tim Holtz flower field die, and I added all kinds of icing product to the different flowers and the different bits and pieces, so they're shiny and glittery on top of everything. And then I just well, it's all icing actually, except for where you see the little gray flower bits, and that's grit paste. Stone grit paste. So other than that, everything else is icing product. If you want to know more about that, just message the store and I can help you with that. And again, I use the I am here for you die. We don't seem to have enough sympathy cards in the world, and I never seem to have any handy. So rather than creating a card that has an outside and inside, I thought I would do an easel card that says I am here for you, and then when you pop that on your mantle or your table, you can always look at it and know that I am there for you. Alrighty, so all of these things have been created with the same strategy, so let me get started and show you how I begin. So first of all, I decide what size card I want, and to this point I've done mostly cards on the up to 5.5 and 4.25, where the slim is the 4.25. So I'm going to try and do a different one because I've done those already. And what I need to do is make sure I have the right size paper, and I had my paper here somewhere. Here we go. I'll just grab a random paper out of here. Okay, that's a fun looking pattern paper. I like the yellow side. I can put something else on top of that if I choose to, but right now I just want to make the base. That is not going to work. I need a 12-inch length, or at least more than this, because this is only 9 inches, and 9.5 is 4.5. That might work. So if I do 9.5, that's 4.5. Okay, so maybe I'll try that. Okay, I'm going to cut this the width that I need. Sorry, just measuring to make sure. Don't want to do this online and then have it not work out. So that is 9 inches, so half is 4.5 inches, so that's perfect. And I want to go 5 inches wide. So I'm going to cut it 5 inches wide. Get my handy dandy cutter out. So on the 9-inch side, is this 9-inch square? No. So on the 9-inch side, I'm going to have that horizontal, and I'm going to cut 5.5 inches. There we go. Okay. Now, so this piece is 5.5 inches, and I am going to give it a 4.5 inch border. Yeah, 4.25, right? 4.25 inch border. Okay. This is out of my scraps, by the way. And now I'm going to cut, and this is the strategy that you're going to use for all of these cards. I'm going to cut this paper, and I'm not going to use my longs. I don't need to use my longs unless I'm making a slim die, a slimline die, or cut. But I'm going to get my widest border, and I am going to cut along here and leave the rest of it the same width. And how you do that is you get your cutter. I happen to use a Cuttlebug, and you get your small plates, which for some, here we go. You're going to measure how long you want your scallop to be, and I'm going to say I'm going to do my scallop an inch. So the first thing I'm going to do is tape I have little pieces of tape that live on my cutter, and I am going to put my paper in there, and I'm going to line it up so I can get the center point. So I know that it's 4.25, so that if I do 1/8 over, that should give me a center line. And I'm just going to eyeball it and make sure it looks right. It's kind of hard with stripes because you don't get a clear visual. Now the important thing to do is to make sure that the nose that's going through your cutter is really well secured so it doesn't shift. So I'm going to make sure that's secured there. I'm just going to put a small bit at the end. But that's not even going to be on my cutter. So this is how it's going to work. I'm going to stick, first of all, let's open up the cutting machine. Okay, so what I have to do is line up my plates, and usually with a thin die you have your base plate, a B plate, and a C plate if you're using a Cuttlebug. And so I'm just going to simply line up my paper so that I have 1 inch or thereabouts. And I'm going to tape the paper to the block, and I'm going to do it on both sides so the paper doesn't shift too much. Oh, better do it on the front too. There we go. And then I'm going to put my block over top. My C plate is going to go over top. And I'm just going to run it through the machine, making sure I get it right in there. Come on, baby. No, it's not going to go. Okay, we'll run it this way. I was hoping I could run it that way, but it's too much all at the top end there. Okay, so now we're going to run it down Okay, my tape isn't sticking. Sorry. One quick second. So make sure we have that inch. And just gonna make sure that stays down a little better. Got my C plate on there. There we go. And I'm going to run it through, and it's only going to put pressure where I have a plate underneath. So when I take this off, you will see that it has only cut the scallop. And now what I do is I go in, you could go in with scissors, you could go in with your with an X-Acto blade, whatever, and I am going to show you how I do it. It may not be the right way, the wrong way, I don't know, but it's my way. And I'm going to line it up so that it's nice and straight, and I'm getting a straight cut, and I'm going to cut to my line on this side, turn it around, line it up so it's nice and straight, and cut to my line on that side. Okay, and there's my face plate. So now what I do is I come over and I'm going to fold my card in half with my bone folder and my... So this piece is actually 9 inches. I don't want it to touch right at the 9-inch point, so I'm going to fold it at, I want to say 4.5. Let me just double check that. Yeah, 4.5. For some reason it didn't look right on my board. So there's my 4.5 line right there. And again, don't push hard the first time out. You're just going over it and putting a little pressure a couple of times so you don't break the paper, and folding it over. Okay, so then from there I can do I can add any doodads, put my little sayings on the inside. I can have something else on the inside with another saying, and you've got a two-toned paper. If you use cardstock, you only end up with one tone. And I could have done multiple types and created more of a pattern design if I wanted to, or just stuck with creating some kind of visual on the front. So that is how to make the first card. Okay. Now, to make an easy fitting, this is not easy fitting, but to make an easy fitting card, you want to have about at least 3/16 of an inch on either side so that it plays in and out easily. Okay, so that, if that's the case, it comes to 3 3/4 inches is what you're looking for the width. And then for the length, you want to have, let's see, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to say 7 3/4 long, and that gives you the perfect length for your gift card holder. So now I'm going to do that in a burgundy color because I know I'm going to need a bunch of them for Christmas. And again, I use up all my scraps for these kinds of things. So I have to go 3 and I'm going to say 3 3/4 wide. 3 3/4 wide. So here I am cutting my 3 3/4 wide. I usually use my guillotine for cardstock because I find with my Fiskars blade, it dulls the blade much quicker. So this I use for thinner paper, this I use for thicker paper. Alrighty. And then I said, well, what did I say? Forgotten already. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 3/4. Put out my arm. And I get 7 3/4. Okay. Put my cutter down out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to go through that same process. This time I'm not using as big a cutter. I'm going smaller because I am making a little scallop edge on there. I'm actually going to go smaller because this would be just too close to the edges, and it wouldn't be recognized as an actual scallop. So now I'm going to go, let's see, that looks like a good size that will give me an even amount on both sides and make it visible. All right, so we're going to do the same process we just did. This time we're going to have a smaller section, and we're just going to make sure that I do it this way. We're going to give ourselves maybe less than an inch this time. So I think maybe 3/4 of an inch will be enough. And I can use my grid on my paper here. I love this paper pad stuff, especially when you're doing things like this. Okay, 3/4 of an inch. And this is going to go in and line up relatively equal. Put your tape down. And just make sure you have that front edge taped down as well, because you really don't want it to shift. Slip this on here, flip it around, slip this on top. Bring this out a little bit more. And there we go. Run it through. All right. So I take everything back. Just get this all out of the way. Careful not to tear your paper, although it is the stuff you're going to be cutting off anyway. All right. So again, I'm just going to line this up with my grid and take my scissors, make sure I'm even. Take my scissors and cut along my line to there. Cut along my line. When I turned it around, I lost my line again. And cut along my line Sorry, a little bit fussy. There we go. So there's my hooky part. And let me see, where is the original one? Here it is. So you got your hooky part. This I made a longer U-shape. This I made a shorter U-shape. It all depends what you want. If you just want it to attach into your cut, then you just simply pull it right down to about 1/4 of an inch, and then that will tuck in and it'll be square. So you could have a square one, you could have a rounded one. So there, depending on how deep you make that round, it shows you how far in you can go and what you use it for as well. So now I had originally hand cut these, but I'm going to cut this using the dies as well. And it's going to be a little bit tricky because I'm cutting into the middle of the paper and I only just want a bare amount. So this, first of all, let's do our folds so we know we're doing everything. So this is going to be, this was I think 1 3/4 if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So our first fold is at 1 3/4. And again, you're going over it a couple of times, not big in the force. And then the center section is, if I'm not mistaken, actually I want to do that a little differently. I find this narrow, so I think I'm going to do it 2 1/2. So I've already put that line on there, but that's okay because I'm just going to iron it out on the back side. Okay. And then put it through at 2 1/2, I think I said, right? 2 1/2. So 2 1/2, and we're going to rub it 3 times, and then the center section. So we want that to be 2 1/2. So the center section is going to be 2 1/2. I'm doing all my measurements differently. So that's 2 1/2, and 2 1/2 is 5. There we go. Okay. So now if I fold this, we have a fold going that direction. We have a fold going that direction. I'll iron it out. Oh. So this did have to be 3. Sorry. So this is 2 1/2 here, and it is 3 here. So 1, 2, 3. That makes 5 1/2. There we go. There we go. So this goes under here, that goes under there. And now I want to make a cut right in that area. So there's a place for the top of this thing to attach. So when I go in, I'm going to do the exact same strategy as we've been doing all the way along. I am going to, oops, put my cut in here. I should mark. I'm just going to put a little pencil mark so I know where the bottom of the lip goes in. So it's got to go this way. All right, so now I need to make sure my lip cuts over. All right. And I really only just need my lip to tuck in a little bit, so I don't have to do a huge amount. Now, my paper's sticking out quite a bit from the end of my die, so I want to make sure that my paper is not going to shift. And I want to make sure that my die is not going to shift. Get that lined up properly. There we go. And get these guys all put in there. Open my cutter. And this is going to give me the little slot for the card. Okay. Take this off, take that off. Now I have a little space, so I keep closing things up, so because I have a little area for being on video. And okay. And there's my little cut. Okay. So if I have done this correctly, I should be able to slip that in there, and it slips in perfectly. Okay. And so at this point, you'd simply put your double-sided tape. Maybe I'll do it just for argument's sake. So you're going to put your 1/8 inch tape right along the edge at one end, and right along the edge at the other side to that first fold line. And then we pull these off. Tuck that up. Get our card. Make sure it fits. Whoops. Don't want the card to go into your slot. Card goes in there. And there you go. Okay, there's your card. Actually, yeah. Okay, so there's your card, and you would decorate it however you want to decorate it. This is going to be a Christmas card holder, and that is the second thing you can make using your tags. I'll take these out so I don't forget those are in there. Okay, so there's your die holders, and as I said, depending on what you want to see, the size of your actual die that you use makes a difference, as well as making it big enough to put in your gift card. And in this case, it was 1/4 inch short. And now we have 2 gift cards that work perfectly well. Okay. So that's that. Whoops. Sorry, I went dark. Okay, now I am not going to show you the entire way to do this, but I'm going to show you how to create your easel card. And if I'm not mistaken, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It is 12 inches. Okay. And it fits in an envelope. I should show you that. Now this, if we have time, I'll just show you how I did this. All I did is I used the die twice on the same paper. Same die twice on the same paper. And see, this fits in perfectly, except you got to be careful about the little doodads. So that card can be in a regular card size, whichever regular card size you use. I happen to use the 2, I think it is, which is 4.5 by, I don't even know, 4.5 by 5 3/4, right? No, 4 3/8 by 5 3/4. Okay. All right, so here we go with this one. This is the same top, same strategy we're using for this. We're going to get another piece of paper that is Christmassy because I want to make a Christmas one. And I have different sized papers. Maybe I'll get a narrower one. I need to have it at least 4 1/4 inches wide. So let's see what I've got here in my stash. I might have something that's actually 4 1/4. That's 5. I think these are all 5. But I made a bunch of invitations and I ended up with this left over. So they're all the same. Okay. So we'll just cut it down. I use the others for borders, so it's all good. Okay, so here we go again. And this time I made my arch a little bit longer. So my arch was 2 inches. And the actual piece I used was 3.5 inches wide. So I'm going to try and find the 3.5 inch wide piece. So that's, and that's the cut line. So this is the 3.5 inch wide piece. Alrighty. And I'm looking at the cut lines when I'm calling out that amount. All right, so I am going to now create the same thing. First of all, I need to cut my paper down to 4 1/4. And that goes in my scrap bin. And it's 12 inches we're using, so we're keeping the full 12 inches. And I'm using 2 inches of the actual cut. So here I'm going to do it on paper first and switch it over so I can really get it accurate. Okay. And I need to get my tapes. So this tape is going to go holding that down. This tape is going to go, and your blades will round, but you just simply lightly bend them back before you put them away so you don't have any trouble the next time you go to use them. And now I am going to put this on my plate. You can tell on my plate that I've done a fair number of circle things where I'm just using the circle. I do this with a bunch of different dies that are large dies. Okay. Now I want to do this 2 inches. Actually, I think I'll do it this way. 2 inches. So here's my plate. And here's my die. Measuring off the 2 inches, sticking down the paper on either side, and putting a stick right on the front so it doesn't get caught. Now this is going to go under, and this is going to go over. And I'm going to bring this into screen. Open it up. Okay. And run it through. think I might have done that 2.5 inches by mistake, but it doesn't matter. It'll still give you the same effect. I'll actually show you a different version. Okay. And we take die, and there we have it. Yes, it went down a little too far, but that's all right. I'm not worried about that. It's going to be a different card altogether anyway. It might have Santa and the reindeer higher. That was my okay. So now we are going to do our cutting. And yeah, I went 3 inches instead of 2 inches. That's all good. Things like that don't worry me. All right, scissors worry me though, if I can't find them. Scissors. Oh, there you are. Okay. So I'm just going to cut straight across there and cut straight across there. There we go. All right, so there is my piece. Now I have to make the actual card, and then we'll do the little hook thing up at the top again. So our first base is 5 inches. Well, we're actually 4 7/8 inches. So we're going to do our first fold 4 7/8. 4 7/8 is right there. Yep, that works. And then the next one is 3/4. So I'm just going to shift it to the 5. Oh, I can't. Okay, so 3/4 going back is here. And then another 3/4, so a full inch is there. So there we go. Okay, and those are our lines. We're folding 1 under, 1 over, and then another one on top. So it becomes a W fold. Get rid of this now. And make sure those fold nice and tight. All right. Right. Okay. So now I want the this piece to flip underneath on the top of the page. So I'm just going to put a quick little mark showing me where this page ends, and then I'm going to get my plates, move my scissors out of the way, move my bone folder out of the way, put those to the side. Now it has to click in, so my small die, this one here, is going to just be like that on here. So we're doing 1 inch. Do we have to do 1 inch? Okay. All right. I think I'm going to do a little less than 1 inch. I'm going to do it this way so I can see what my plate is. So I'm going to do 3/4 of an inch. sure everything lines up nice and straight. So this is wrong way, this way. So that's 3/4 of an inch. That goes on there, lining up here nicely. This is going to cut 3/4 of an inch. A little bit fiddly. Really have to get that right on the edge. So this line is going to have to be right on the edge in order for me not to cut the whole piece. So that's going to be a little tricky. So let's see how this works out. This is an experiment. I've not done it this way. I usually cut with an X-Acto, but let's see how it goes. History in the making. Okay, so I want that there. I'm going to just stick it really well because there could be a shifting happening. Now we're going to move this under here. Has everybody noticed how cold it's gotten? I'm walking around with a sweater on today. I feel like I've got a cold, but I've been wearing masks everywhere, so I don't know how I picked up a cold, but it's weird. Okay, now let's get this guy here. Let's just make sure everything is going in properly. That's still on there. Okay, here we go. Let's hope it all works. All right. Cross your fingers. Let's see how it all worked. The unveiling is happening. It worked. Oh my God, it worked. How happy am I? Okay. So there you go. There's your attacher on the back. And there's your standing card. There you go. And it's the same as this one, except that that one, oops, should fold it properly, except that this one is a little shorter around there. So that is it. That's how to use this to make your easel card. If you don't have an easel card die. And I mean, there's dies for all of these things, which is great, but you may not have the money to buy dies for everything. So this is an opportunity for you to use what you have and to create your own. So we've created our easel card, we've created our gift card, and we've created a simple card that you can embellish for an activity. And don't forget, running this through twice on the same piece of paper, you can create another flap card. So that's it for me tonight. I hope you enjoyed. I will look at your comments shortly. And thank you very much for joining us. It's Crafty Kris saying goodbye from Learning Live #1.